The Edgeless Horseman here. Today I'll be looking at Grande Portage Resources, White Rock Minerals and FireFox Gold, and I'll give you my current thoughts basically. As always, I would like to start with just looking at the big picture in terms of junior sentiment. We're obviously still in tax loss season. There's a few days, a couple of weeks left, so assume there might be some selling pressure, artificial selling pressure in some juniors, but make no mistake, I mean these are most juniors are ridiculously undervalued right now, and like my proxy that I've been using, Bear Creek Mining, it's up around 12% today, and I mean that's good and all, but if you see here, I mean there's a long way until we reach any kind of medium-term sentiment high. So don't read too much into the daily swings. I mean, we might go down tomorrow and then we might go up the next day or whatever. But again, I'm holding out for the big returns. I'm not day trading any juniors right now, and who knows what can happen. We might see 20% plus days all of a sudden, and as we know, I mean that will get more people interested, because right now there's still almost no buyers in the new junior mining sector. So you can imagine that I mean I've like I've said before, I bought some shares recently where I was like the only buyer, or one out of two perhaps. So you can imagine what happens when a third buyer comes in, and a fourth, and a fifth, and when we're up up, let's say, some tens of percents. That's gonna keep more people, that's gonna get more people interested, because I mean most people want to buy something that's going up. So I'm simply front running by buying when they've been going lower and lower and have become increasingly cheap. So if I'm the only one buying, and we'll soon run out of sellers, at least artificial sellers, I mean the path of least resistance becomes up, and then it becomes it like sentiment always does, it feeds on itself. Rising prices creates better sentiment, which creates more buying, which creates rising sentiment, since prices are going up. Anyway, again, this is I mean my portfolio is basically a hodl portfolio, and I'm still expecting around 200% returns on average within the next, say, 12 to 24 months. So let's look at Grande Portage, Herbert Gold project located in Alaska, one of the absolutely best jurisdictions in the world. And as you can see here on this small map, it's relatively south. I mean it's the southeastern parts of Alaska, so it's on par with British Columbia actually. Incredibly high grade resource, already indicated resource of 1.2 million at 10.23 grams per ton. So it's for sure one of the highest grade resource estimates out there in the gold space, which is of course incredible, because theoretically this would be a quite high margin project that could do well in very low gold environments. And if we look at the chart, I mean it's done pretty well. It's just been consolidating basically. So again, I don't trade based on charts, but you can imagine that if we're already here, and this looks like a major cup and handle pattern. Obviously this black line looks to be important from a trading perspective, and we're here in terms of sentiment. And the gold they already have confirmed isn't going anywhere, and they just wrapped up, or not just, but in October they wrapped up the 2021 drill program. So that's 8,150 meters of drill core in 19 holes, and all are yet to be reported. So I mean, again, looking a bit farther ahead than the market, what will happen when let's say sentiment gets going for real, and you have some nice high grade results. Would I be surprised to see this break and then the traders start to pile in and then that creates even more FOMO, let's say? No, of course not. So I mean, I think this is it's a coiled spring basically. And again, the best part about these stores with margin of safety, there's no drill news that can come out which makes this disappear. We already know there's 1.2 million ounces of very high grade and even more ounces in the inferred category. So there's nothing, no news can break this project, if you know what I mean. So risks are to the upside, sentiment risks are to the upside, and then it's on the cusp of breaking out of a multi-year pattern, let's say. So that's one I really like. It's been super quiet. Obviously, there's not many people have wanted to sell, which makes sense. Again, even though price of gold has declined from the all-time highs, a project with these kinds of grades should do well. So I like this from a margin of safety and the growth potential. One of those hybrid plays, basically the best kind of risk-reward stories, and there's multiple veins left to be reported. And again, it has the potential to come out with some splashy grades. Excellent case in my book, and I own it in some family portfolios as well as, of course, my own. I mean, to sum up, I really like this story. White Rock Minerals, that's been a tough one. I think I piled in around here, or well, at least here, on the back of the last chance potential, that big soil anomaly up in Alaska. Things have not gone great. Their field season was cut short when they first tried to drill the last chance, and obviously that's blind exploration. So it's like the chance of success of just hitting a barn burner intercept probably less than 10%, I would guess, at least. But it's easy, to get caught up in the hype, let's say. And I mean, to be honest, I think it was cheap back then. So, like I always talk about, don't look at the let's say results in terms of share price action and then conclude if you made a mistake or not. I mean, this is just the reality we got. If they would have hit a bonanza grade intercept, let's say, in one or more holes, obviously the short would probably look like that. So we do the best we can based on the information we have, and then we see what the actual reality becomes. But you can't just look at what happened and then automatically conclude that you made a good or bad buy decision. If I have one, let's say, regret, it might be that I actually bought in with too much stock. That would be it pretty much. But they still have basically 3 or 4 if you count last chances as separate assets. 3 assets, Woods Point, which they got after consolidating with what's the name of the company? I don't remember now. Anyway, huge land package, past production of almost Fosterville type grades, permitted mine. They're doing, or set to do at least, near mine exploration there. So could really have some stellar results come out of there. And obviously, given the the look of the short, expectations are probably not too high. So at these prices, I would say that, let's say, surprises are to the upside, but a lot of things have not gone their way, let's say. I mean, they have the Red Mountain, which is a VMS district. Actually, it looks really, really good. Already has a fairly big resource, and some years past, I think it was Sandfire who had a JV with them on that project. So obviously, it is a legit project, very legit. Already got a big high-grade resource. Not big enough yet, so it could be developed by itself. But I mean, like I highlighted previously, if that would have been spun out into a, let's say, Canadian listed vehicle and marketed as a silver project because it has a lot of high grade silver, I think it, you know, could revalue. Let's say I don't think it's reflected in the market cap right now, and that's always the problem with multi-asset juniors. Just look at, you know, Novo Resources, for example. The market is never gonna discount much more than the, you know, the hottest project of the day, let's say. And they also have a near-term production asset and advanced asset, Mount Carrington. They are being advanced by a JV partner. So there's a lot of meat on the bones, a lot of, you know, stuff under the hood here. But like we know, sentiment, it feeds on itself. And now they're raising money, and they did a pretty big raise, I think it was last year. So one can forgive the market for, you know, running out of patience, let's say, because at face value it looks like, you know, okay, you're gonna raise a bunch of money again, and at face value shareholders haven't, you know, gotten much out of it. But of course, investing is not about looking in the rearview mirror. We're trying to guess where, you know, the value creation curve will look like in the future. So from a risk-reward perspective, I mean, it's certainly not expensive. I mean, given the stages of the assets and the pickup of the Woods Point project, which again is a huge land package in a tier 1 jurisdiction, and they had the Morningstar mine right here. So who knows? I mean, in 2 years, with a bit of luck, they might have hit something really significant here, and maybe they would have, you know, let's say, restructured the company a bit, maybe spun out the Red Mountain asset or done a JV on that again. So there's a bunch of stuff that could happen in the future. It's just that I don't have a clear picture, let's say, of the path forward. And right now the market is very much in a, you know, show me stage. Okay, now they'll probably, you know, get $11 million, which is a lot of money. So they can, you know, we have no idea how much value they might create with that. But again, it's like after investors have been along for the ride, this downsloping ride, and now we're in tax loss selling season. Obviously, it's going to take quite a bit of, let's say, positive news to turn around sentiment here. You know, would I be selling here? No, I mean, I from a, you know, out of principle, basically, I never sell anything at 52-week lows, because almost no story ends well when you sell low, if you know what I mean. Again, it's like I don't. There's a range of possibilities how White Rock will play out, and again, at face value, it looks as cheap as it has ever looked. Obviously, now they picked up another asset, so it's probably cheaper now than it was back here. Obviously, I mean, in terms of price, it has gone down. No, so I think this is a, you know, for bottom pickers or people who really like to buy cheap. I think White Rock Mineral is still, you know, quite an acceptable risk reward, even perhaps good, and a lot can change. I mean, in 6 months the case might look totally different. All I'm saying is that I'm not keen on selling here, and a lot can happen with 11 million put to work. Then we have FireFox Gold. I think this is like super cheap. They've had success. They've hit 100 gram meter holes at Mustajärvi. They have a huge land package. They have 4 projects permitted for drilling and plan to drill all 4. There's been, JVs dropping all over the place for Orion with B2 and I think maybe Kinross even. So, I mean, this area of Finland is very, very hot. You have the world-class Icar deposit right here, or here, I meant, and a new discovery here. So, obviously, very prolific belt. FireFox has 100% ownership still, and I can bet that there are quite a few mid-tiers or even majors that would really like to JV some of these properties. FireFox has yet to do so, so at least right now, us shareholders have 100% exposure to all of these. And share price of Orion has started to move up again, so I think that speaks to the premium put on Finland right now, that it is a very hot jurisdiction and obvious exploration potential. And I think simply that FireFox Gold provides excellent value because first of all they already have a discovery at Mustajärvi, and I think they're doing step out drilling right now and stepping out from the high grade. So I can see some high grade results coming out. Sentiment kicking off. Finland getting even harder given the mid tiers are spending even more money. I think Rupert will continue to put out some good drill results and maybe new discoveries. So I think again risks are very, very much to the upside, and it's already starting at very cheap levels. So I think that this, which could be called a cup and handle, I guess. Again, I think this is going to break to the upside one of these days. So I'm simply front running it, and I think the company should probably be valued around here already. So I expect this to break and them to hit some holes around Mustajärvi, and if they hit on anything else other than that, then we're talking a quick jump in blue sky potential. But it's not priced in, so I'm not taking an evaluation risk by buying right now, in my opinion. So from a risk-reward perspective, love it. It's cheap. It's one of the most aggressive growth stories out there. I love the management team. I think Carl is, he really wants to make something big out of FireFox. And again, right place from a geological perspective, right place from a jurisdictional perspective, right place from a sentiment level perspective for an investor right now. I'm holding on to this one for sure, and it's a relatively big position, and I expect to see, I expect to be up maybe 200% within 12 to 24 months. So not keen on selling anytime soon, let's say. That's about it. Again, I own shares of all these stories. I think all our banner sponsors as well. So consider me biased. Do your own due diligence. Make up your own opinion, and again, there's no point in betting the farm on any single play right now because everything is so cheap that you don't need to, let's say, have precision and be concentrated and into one stock. If let's say valuations were high, we had sentiment levels up here, then yes, you would need to put in a lot of work to find the ones that were actually undervalued. Right now, I would say all of these 3 and at least 30, 40, 50 that I am aware of, juniors are incredibly cheap. So I don't feel like diversification is a bad thing at all right now, because you want to, I mean, increase your chance of success. So I mean, sure, one story might have an expected value of 300 and one might have 180%, but the fact remains that on average the expected returns from these levels are good for many juniors. So it would really suck if I bet the farm on one with like 350% expected return and that went south, because that then it doesn't matter if the whole sector is cheap right now and I can throw darts and hit something that's undervalued. If I put all my eggs in exactly one basket, and even though it might be a layup in terms of the risk reward, might be the best case ever, things can still happen. If there were any guarantees in this business, everybody would be a billionaire. So I mean, I don't think it's wise to aim for perfection, because that's typically a mask for greed, let's say. So stay diversified, think long term. Like I've said before, use sentiment to your advantage. Buy now during tax loss selling if you want to buy. And again, there's a bunch of units out there. There's a bunch of units that are undervalued that I don't own, simply because I don't have the dry powder. But I can't cover all stocks, obviously. Yeah, I hope you got something out of this. Do your own due diligence as always. Stay patient. Focus on the long term. Bye.